I don't know if many people give thought to this, but when you pick up takeout during our stay-at-home order, the worker that's handing you your food, cans of beer, like if you're going in and picking it up, they actually might be making less than minimum wage. And don't know how many people have that as top of mind, but with restaurants closed to dining, many who used to make a large portion of their pay in the form of tips are still working, but they're no longer serving alcohol on premises, right? So they're not getting that kind of tip that they once did. They might even be getting just a fraction of it. There are a lot of people out today saying that they're still being paid what's called the liquor server minimum wage. It's $2 an hour less than the $14 and some odd that you'd normally get for a minimum wage in this province. So we wanted to kind of expose this a little bit and talk about what the future may look like. Lluc Cerda is an employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin and joins us to talk a little bit about it. Nice to have you. Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Hi, Ryan and Jay. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem. We're playing everybody's favorite cell phone game called Can You Hear Me Now?
Absolutely.
So we're talking about the issues around minimum wage, and I think a lot of people would be surprised when they pick up their beer or their food right now during lockdown that the person that's serving you might make less than minimum wage. I think that everybody thought that these types of jobs paid at the bare minimum a minimum wage. So what's the big issue? Is it that rules are vague or they're written poorly? Like, what's going on?
Well, actually, your listeners might be surprised to learn that there's actually 6 different minimum wages in Ontario, and then one of them is a liquor server minimum wage. So it's $12.45 an hour. The general minimum wage that everyone else gets paid is $14.25. Yeah, so almost $2 difference. So the premise behind the liquor server minimum wage essentially is that these servers are serving alcohol in restaurants and bars and such, and so are earning a large portion of their salary from tips. That, of course, has changed since the pandemic. Firstly, no one's in bars and restaurants physically, and secondly, you have people that are not ordering alcohol with their food, or are just not tipping as much as they used to. I think that even if you try to tip someone on Uber Eats or different apps like that, you can tip the driver, but not the restaurant staff that prepares your food.
You mentioned, and I don't want to put you on the spot, that there's 6 types of minimum wage. You just named 2 of them, the regular minimum wage and the liquor server one. What the hell are the other 4?
Well, so there's a student minimum wage, there's a hunting and fishing guide minimum wage, there's a home workers minimum wage, and there's a wilderness guide minimum wage.
Okay, so there's 2 different ones for guides.
Yes, hunting and fishing and wilderness guides. Yeah.
I love learning things on this show.
Every day I asked you that
question.
Yes.
So what happens is there already talk, rumblings that when this is all over, which is what we're trying to figure out, right? Will these types of things end up being rewritten, or is that industry, I mean, obviously that's not your industry, the law is, but is there rumblings that could change those designations?
Well, I don't know if there's rumblings in there. I think the Star's article today that mentioned it, I hope landed, squarely on the Director of Employment Standards desk this morning, because it's definitely an issue. Right now, that law is the minimum wage for liquor servers is completely unadapted to the reality on the ground, which is, no one's in restaurants. So the premise that you have to be serving alcohol on the premises of the restaurant has disappeared. So theoretically, no one should be getting the liquor server minimum wage, whether they're getting tips or whether they're putting a beer in your takeout bag before you, because you're not consuming that alcohol on premises. So the reality, especially of the restaurant industry that existed prior to the pandemic, is completely different from what it is today. And so rules and laws that were built for that business model just don't work anymore.
Now, what about the restaurants? Do they have any discretion in all of this, or is it simply the restaurants just follow the rules that are mandated by government, and they would never even think of paying somebody a little bit more because their job has changed fundamentally? Well,
the minimum wage is a minimum, so anyone can freely choose to pay their employees more than the minimum wage. Absolutely. The reality, though, is that once those tips disappear, if you want to keep your staff, you're going to have to pay them a living wage. Otherwise, you have staff that it's not worth their while to come into work.
Lluc, we appreciate the time. Thank you.
My pleasure.
That's Lluc Cerda, who is a lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP.